it. People like Richard Gardner, early member of the Trilateral Commission, started writing about it, and others. And all of a sudden, the mantra was interdependence, interdependence. Oh my gosh, we need to rush and rush and rush, hurry up and, control this whole process of going on interdependence. And there never really was any public demand for interdependence whatsoever. They just created it out of thin air. The United Nations picked it up, of course, and ran with it. And that has been one of the main instruments of interdependence, creating the system of interdependence, is through the United Nations. Even if most Americans would have thought, let's get the U.S. or get the United Nations out of the U.S. I remember those bumper stickers that were appeared a lot in the 70s and 80s. Most Americans didn't feel like the UN influenced America very much. But that wasn't true in other countries around the world. It was based here as viewed as more or less as a policy organ of the U.S., but it had a huge impact around the world on other countries and building the so-called system of interdependence. And I expect that they'll have their legacy in why countries in South America, for instance, hate the United States with passion, because we meddled with them to the point where we either bankrupted them or whatever, did horrible things to them. And they generally hate America for it. That really shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be they hate Americans, because you and I didn't do it. And I don't know any really true American that did it either, but it was just a relatively small group of people.
I could blame Nelson Rockefeller as, leading through Latin America, the South American policies. Yeah. Henry Kissinger.
That's right. Yep.
What do you know about the others? So the Trilateral Commission was, of course, created by Brzezinski and David Rockefeller. Nelson Rockefeller, his older brother, who had been vice president in the 70s, his protege was Kissinger. So Brzezinski and Kissinger are like the bookends to be able to, the vice grips to be able to squeeze in on America. How familiar are you with Nelson Rockefeller's history and the things, even though he's not officially in the Trilateral Commission, obviously they're brothers and they're running an agenda.
That's right.
So how do you see it fitting together?
They were very close, actually. Nelson always aspired to be a politician. I don't feel sorry for him that he had to be appointed to be vice president. But, the poor guy, he wanted to be a politician and he couldn't get elected anywhere. I don't know that David Rockefeller would have ever got elected anywhere either. Jay Rockefeller got elected in West Virginia. But Nelson was appointed to be vice president after Nixon resigned and Gerald Ford assumed the presidency. And so you had a Beauty and the Beast kind of pairing with an unelected president and an unelected vice president at the same time. More importantly is a question of why Nelson Rockefeller. Why would they want to get him in at that time? This was just after the Trilateral Commission had been founded in 1973. In my view and study of this, the most important thing that Nelson Rockefeller did is that he presided as president of the Senate, as vice president. And the Senate in 1974 passed the first iteration of the Trade Promotion Authority Act, the Trade Act of 1974, that set up the so-called fast-track legislation method for trade treaties that would be negotiated by the executive branch, in particular the U.S. Trade Representative, the USTR, as is known. And that legislation got railroaded through by Nelson Rockefeller, and it was passed in the Senate, the first iteration of it, and it was given a life of its own. The Senate even still realized how dangerous fast track was, and they gave it a sunset clause so that it would automatically expire after a period of years. It has since been reauthorized multiple times. Right now, it is not authorized. Currently, the president is trying to get fast track reauthorized by the Senate.
Because that gust data we had that you were talking about in Colorado a couple weeks ago, it was perfect.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it looked like a monster coming at you, but it was very weak. And here, this looks like it's not much of anything, but did a lot of damage.
Yeah.
So when there is a severe weather threat in your area, just brush up on what you need to know. Find that safe place, because we saw it across Wyoming and Utah and Colorado Friday. We could see a few more strong storms into early Saturday.
Yeah, weekend storms again. How many times have we had this here? I know we're heading into the heart of April right now, but yeah, every weekend it seems we're having some kind of severe weather here across parts of the central southern United States. Overnight hours, really watching the four corners as this spreads across into the western plains. We have had a couple of severe warnings around North Platte, Hastings, I-80 through Nebraska. A lot of gusty winds. There's a lot of low-level dry air, so a lot of times these thunderstorms are collapsing, and as the air evaporates, or at least the water evaporates before it hits the ground, kind of dries out, and it just rushes down. So we do have those gusty storms through the overnight hours, but by and large, we'll get missed by those for most of us. Now, Saturday is a little bit of a different story. We'll have the dry thunderstorm starting to form from Lubbock, Texas, through Wichita Falls, through Little Rock,
AFDR
9 p.m.
Studio
The latest timing
653.
through the afternoon and evening hours. So Saturday, we'll have a couple of morning showers. We'll say Muskogee, Fort Smith, over to Springfield. Those will race into Tennessee and dissipate. And then you see a couple of little dots. What to look for here is the left-hand side tail end of the cold front. A few of those forming right alongside the cold front sweeping across. And by 9 o'clock, they're isolated here and there, so that's not a widespread severe weather threat, but a few could contain some very strong gusty winds, maybe some large hail. Then by Sunday, we have to watch up to the north just a bit, toward the I-70 corridor. A lot of Kansas, including Wichita, Topeka, and Hayes over to Garden and Dodge City. Even about Burlington, Colorado, eastern Colorado through about Columbia, Missouri, Kansas City, and just northwest of Joplin and Springfield. So here's Sunday's outlook, where we do have another separate cold front kind of sweeping across. This will bring us scattered thunderstorms through parts of Colorado, mountain snowfall alongside. Then watch right around the low. That's our best chance from Garden City, the Colorado-Kansas borders. That sweeps across. That should ignite a couple of afternoon thunderstorms from northern Texas up into central Kansas by the time Sunday evening rolls around. And by Sunday late night, a couple of those could be stronger, more widespread. Wichita, Topeka, and Kansas City. And then some snow coming back into Colorado. So for Denver, big changes coming in with those cold fronts, especially the ones Sunday night into Monday. Temperatures taking a pretty solid, about 25-degree drop. And then could be some snow mixing in, especially toward the nighttime hours. For Dallas, Texas, the days to watch, well, really Tuesday, Wednesday. I know we highlighted a couple of them for Saturday, Sunday, but your bigger chances Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday with some heavy rain setting up, as well as in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Looks like this upcoming week could be very wet and stormy in parts.
So there you go. That's what we got. Wet weather, stormy weather across the plains this weekend. And we'll take a look at that weather coming up. Weather on the 5s, 25 and 55 minutes past the hour, right here on GJRB Online here on Spreaker. Gary J. Rustin with you. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Hope you're enjoying the program. We've got some more way out there coming your way next here on GJRB Online here on Spreaker. And